When Jimmy Collins was born, there was no indication, other than being for the great New York community of Niagara Falls, he was going to be something spectacular because those born in that part of New York in the late to mid 1800s would either work as a laborer, but when he became a really, really good baseball player, he changed the game on a lot of levels. He's a member of the Hall of Fame. He's a Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. He's a World Series champion. But his 14 seasons in Major League Baseball continues to be one of the greatest ever for a third baseman, later a manager. Of course, we have to talk about the great Jimmy Collins. Now, born James Joseph Collins, he was especially regarded for his defense. He was best known for his ability to field a bunt. Prior to his debut, he was a shortstop who fielded bunts down the third base line and is regarded as a pioneer of the modern defensive play of a third baseman. So Brooks Robinson and Craig Nettles owe their whole career to this guy. As of 2012, he's second all-time in putouts by a third baseman behind Brooks Robinson. At the plate, he finished the career with 65 homers, 1,055 runs scored, 983 RBIs, and a very excellent .294 batting average. He was also the first manager of the Red Sox franchise, then known as the Boston Americans. He was the winning manager of the first ever World Series as Boston defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1903, 5-3, and of course inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1945. Now, also in the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame and was the NL home run leader in 1898. Now, began his pro baseball career with the minor league Buffalo Bisons of the Eastern League, the forerunner of the current IL, in 1893. That season, the International League, he was used primarily as a shortstop, batting .286 in 76 contests. Now, in 1894, Collins was moved to the outfield by the Bisons. He batted .352 with 9 home runs in 125 games, and after the season, his contract was purchased by the Boston Beaneaters for $500. Now, he began his major league career as a right fielder, playing 10 games at the position with the Beaneaters in 1895. On May 19, 1895, he was loaned to Louisville Colonels, again for $500. Excuse me. He was soon made the team's starting third baseman, batting .279 over the remainder of the season. His larger impact was on defense, where he played in on the grass rather back to cut down on a number of bunt hits. Now, he was returned to the Beaneaters after the 1895 season, as Joe Harrington was the club's starting for third baseman at the beginning of the campaign, but Collins soon asserted himself as a starter, and Harrington was let go in July. Now, he asserted himself as a skilled player in 1897 when he held a .346 batting average and knocked in 132 runs. He led the league in both putouts and assists as well, a feat he would duplicate in 1900. He followed with an equally impressive 1898 season in which he hit .328, which was 7th in the league, drove in 111 runs, and belted a league high 15 homers. Now, when he moved to the American League following the 1900 season, he was regarded as the best third baseman in the game. He was also offered a manager job with the Boston Americans of the New AL. He accepted the job, which came with a salary of $5,500, a $3,500 signing bonus, a cut of the team's profits, and other add-ons. Now, despite efforts by the Beaneaters owner Arthur Soden to keep him, the two traded accusations in the press, and Collins went further, accusing NL owners of conspiring to hold down salaries, collusion, early 1900s, stated, "I would not go back now if they offered me the whole outfit." He recruited other NL stars for the Americans roster, including the great Cy Young. In his first season as player-manager, he guided the team to a second-place finish, 4 games behind the White Sox. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the White Sox did win the division. I know it's hard to feel with over 100 losses this year. Now, in 1902, Collins was limited to 108 games by injury, and the Americans finished third. He did hit the team's first ever inside the park grand slam. The next campaign, he led the Americans to their first AL pennant, winning the league by 14.5 games over the ever-improving Philadelphia Athletics. Now, with an agreement in place for the champions of AL and NL to meet the best-of-9 World Series, Boston represented the junior circuit. After losing 2 of the 3 home to start the series, then losing the first game at Pittsburgh, the Americans won the next 3 in Pittsburgh, then returned home to win Game 8 in Boston, become the first ever World Series champions. Collins himself batted .250 in the series with a pair of triples on 5 runs scored. Now, the Americans won the pennant again in 1904, with Collins batting .271 and leading the league in putouts for the 5th time in 8 seasons. However, the Americans would not get the opportunity to defend their title, as John McGraw and the New York Giants refused to play them in the postseason. Now, in 1905, the Americans slipped to fourth, and Collins clashed with team president John Taylor, reportedly quitting on the team during the season. As a player, Collins batting .276, but again missed time due to injury. In 1906, he found himself in hot water, as not only were Americans at last, but himself was suspended twice, and was eventually replaced as manager by Chick Stahl. He also missed the end of the season with knee injury. Now, he began the 1907 season with Boston, but it was only a matter of time before he departed. For reasons that never become clear, Stahl had committed suicide during spring training. Instead of Collins, the Americans turned to Cy Young as manager, followed by George Huff, and then Bob Unglob, all within the first 3 months of the season. Now, after playing 41 games with the Americans, he was traded to Athletics in June for infielder John Knight. While he batted .278, he had a career low to that point, .330 slugging percentage, and failed to hit a home run for the first time in his career. In 1908, he slumped even further, batting just .217 and was let go. After his major league career ended, he continued to play and manage in the minor leagues. He spent 1909 with the Minneapolis Millers of the AA, and spent 2 seasons with the Providence Grays of the Eastern League before retiring. Now, when Collins was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1945, he was the first to be chosen primarily as a third baseman. In 1981, Lawrence Ritter and Donald Honig included him in their book, The 100 Greatest Baseball Players of All Time. Collins then became a charter member of the Buffalo Baseball Hall of Fame, obviously Niagara Falls area, but again, part of the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame. Now, in his 6 seasons as a manager, he had a bad losing record in the last season, was fired. Again, it might have been back-to-back World Series, but again, the Giants refused to play them. That season, there were 91-62 in a very, very long 153-game season. Now, on a personal side, he married his beautiful wife, Sarah, in 1907, and the couple had 2 daughters. After his retirement from baseball, he moved back to Buffalo, where Collins worked for the Buffalo Parks Department. Unfortunately, he passed away of pneumonia on March 6, 1943, at the young age of 73. Now, ironically, Boston-based Celtic punk band Dropkick Murphys recorded the song Jimmy Collins' Wake on their 2013 album, Signed and Sealed in Blood. The song, originally written by Richard Johnson, recounts Collins' wake in Buffalo at what currently is Coa de Cayo Bar and Grill on Delaware Avenue. Now, the legend of this guy is very, very intense, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Collins, you see how he changed the game. It was a very interesting thing. He would, now this kind of weird. The shortstop was usually the fastest player in the infield, but he worked it. He could anticipate where the ball was going to go, and he, like I said, he looked like a very intelligent player. In relation to that, there were some audio interviews I listened to about Collins. He said playing baseball is simple, but the thing is, simplicity doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And the best season, of course, was 1897. We're going to go over that here. He had 183 hits that year, 28 doubles, 13 triples, 6 home runs, 132 runs batted in, and 14 stolen bases. Now, we had speed, of course, 194 career stolen bases. Now, ironically, ladies and gentlemen, didn't strike out very often. He only had 266 career shutouts, so he was a strong batsman. And again, the percentage of people that really looked up to him, and like I said, that 1897 season, batting .346, ladies and gentlemen, 882 OPS, very good. Ironically, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, there was no Hall of Fame. No All-Star or MVP at the time, but like I said, he was playing the position quite strong. Now, we're going to look at the postseason batting in 1903 in the World Series. He had 36 at-bats, 9 hits, 1 RBI, 3 stolen bases, batted .250. Now, he was again did play a little bit of outfield in those seasons as well. Very, very strong. So, ladies and gentlemen, 14 seasons at third base. Played 1 season in the outfield, 28 games. Played 3 seasons at shortstop, 6 appearances. 1 season at second base. So, again, of those 14 seasons, 1,683 contests were at were at third base. Now, according to stats here, which is quite interesting, he played in 14,865 innings, 605 chances, 2,372 putouts, 702 assists. Sometimes, like I said, 465 errors. He had 47 errors in 1907. That's a true story, by the way. And 50 in 1901. So not the best on defense, but he he played 225 double plays. So again, 929 fielding average, which is kind of high for a third baseman, but a dead ball error. Jimmy Collins, probably a top 5 third baseman of all time. And not the biggest drink of water, ladies and gentlemen. He was not known for his size. But it's kind of weird, like I said, 5'9", 178 on his best day. And like I said, a handsome dude. He looked like a kind of a movie star. He was a very handsome guy, a very dandy guy. But like I said, if you want to visit his grave, of course, is at the iconic Holy Cross Cemetery in Lackawanna, New York. So in the history of Niagara Falls and Buffalo, again, a tremendous representative. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You could do worse to kind of join the tower with Jimmy Collins. If you're going to play third base, you got to be fast and you got to be a hitter. And in the modern era, they want you to hit home runs as a third baseman, not just defense. 25 homers, 70 RBIs, hit about 20-50. I think it's the hardest position to play because you're working on double plays. There's bunts, all kind of different stuff. And like I said, the 1970s and 80s era, the speed era, boys, you had to be good at third base. All the World Series champions had some of the best third basemen through the years, and Jimmy Collins paved the way. So that's the legend of the great Jimmy Collins. Our good friend, a friend of the channel, Ryan Thompson. He never requested Jimmy, but this is for you, brother. Big supporter of what he called vintage baseball heroes of the late 1800s, early 1900s. And like I said, if you're a Red Sox fan, you never heard of Jimmy Collins, check out the Boston Red Sox, alumni books and websites. The Hall of Fame, you'd be glad you did. Have a good one. Bye.